Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, hello, my name is Emma. Welcome to my childhood bedroom. Do I miss shooting videos here? From the lighting situation, you can probably guess that is a resounding no. You can never balance the natural lighting with this lighting, and if you turn this lighting off, we have a problem. You see what I mean? Also, it's December, heading straight into January, which is what we're going to talk about today. So the lighting situation is just resoundingly shit. Anyway, hello. Today we are talking about New Year's resolutions. I know, it's still a few days before New Year's, so like you have time to just like think about what you want to choose to do for the next year, for the next decade. I've been already making my like 2020 and 2020 resolutions. I'm very excited about it. I really enjoy New Year's resolutions. They have always worked really well for me. I have almost always more or less completed them. I've also made maybe, it has to be like 6 or 7 New Year's resolutions videos now, maybe yes 6, because in January my channel turned 7. If you're new, hello, yes, I have been on YouTube almost a decade, so having it all documented of like me like progressing like that is like kind of insane. It's just always nice to see your own personal growth, like how you change and what your goals change to and like how you do. Just seeing the development is always very nice. So, as someone who really enjoys them and they work for her and like I make them work for me, I thought I would share some of the like tips of like how you really like actually achieve your New Year's resolutions, because I think a lot of people forget about them and don't do them, and maybe just I think choose the wrong things. I'm here to just give you my unsolicited advice. There wasn't any milk today, so just have coffee. Okay, so first hot top tip. Does this make me just like a list video again? I used to do this all of the time. Stop being nostalgic. Right, first tip, I would recommend that you be as specific as possible. Don't set generalized things like love me more or be healthy or those kind of like general things. Like, okay, they make you feel good about yourself for like 2 days while you're like, I'm eating healthy, I'm looking after me. It's like, okay, but it doesn't actually mean anything. When you say be healthy, what do you actually mean by that? Does that mean that you're gonna exercise XYZ amount of times a week? Does that mean that you're gonna, you know, choose to improve your diet by adding more fruits and eating less meat or whatever? Like, you have to be very specific. What do you actually mean by be healthy? What do you actually mean by love me more? You've made a resolution, but you haven't set yourself any kind of like tangible goal, which means it is like super easy to cop out and be like, this is self-love. I'm like, it's not. That is really toxic behavior that you're like pretending is self-love, but actually you're not doing anything to help yourself or help the others around you. So you gotta be specific. And in the specificity, in order to like keep you motivated and like on track and stuff, you have to try and hit the right balance between being idealistic and realistic. You have something to aspire to and really like push yourself and be the best version of you that you can be, but then also like not one that's so difficult that like you just get overwhelmed and then you're like, oh, I can't do this, and then you feel bad about yourself because you set yourself a goal that you were never, even with all of your best intentions, but you were never going to like get. So striking that balance is really going to do you a favor, because then you're like, oh, I can keep going, and you can keep going, rather than being like, oh, this is too hard, and then being like, it's all in the name of self-improvement, yes? Another thing that I always do is I always set multiple resolutions. If you just want to go for the one, okay, but I think that puts a lot of pressure on like just one thing. I generally set myself about 7 or 8. I've never gone as high as 10, I don't think, but I've never just set myself 1. I don't know, maybe 3 would work really well for you. But my mentality with this is that I go back to my resolutions and then I think, you know, I'm not working on number 1 very well, let's try and work on number 2 for a bit. If you have other ones to sort of go to and flick between, then you can actually feel yourself making some kind of progress, because you've got a list of like more things that you want to do. So that like, you know, you did one very specific one and then you're like, okay, I feel good, I feel motivated again, let's go back to the other ones that maybe were a bit trickier. Give yourself potentially like a minimum of 5 and maybe a maximum of 10. Who knows? You'll find out what works for you as the years go on, and if, you know, resolutions even work for you. They don't work for everyone, that is also just the thing. And in line with then having multiple resolutions, do yourself a favor in where you write them down. Write them somewhere visible. For me, if they're online, everyone can see them. I always flick back between them. I have a playlist of them so that I can literally go back and see all of the ones that I've got. I always write them in the description so that I always just know like, oh, where was I going? What was like my plan for this year, and like where was I going? Like what did I want to do? It's kind of like my little roadmap of like who I want to be by the end of the year, or this year is going to be by the end of the decade. Write them on the back of calendars, write them on notes on your phone, but then pin the note to the top of your notes. That's what I can do on my phone, which I love. It's so useful. Write them in your diary at the front, write them on a special page. Just do it somewhere that you cannot avoid them, somewhere you go back to frequently, so that you can look and go, yeah, this is what I was doing. Even set yourself a reminder in your calendar or write it on, being like, okay, you know, first of the month or first Monday of the month, we always check in with like where your goal is at and what your targets are and like how you're going to get to where you want to be. I sound like somebody's boss, right? I'm like, what are your targets? What targets have you set for you? But you have to think about it sort of in that sort of mentality, but then very much focusing on you and you alone. You are allowed to be selfish with the goals you set because they are about you. It is okay sometimes to like have things that are all about you. We have to like stop thinking that like improving ourselves is a selfish thing to do. Especially because if you're happy, if you're healthy or whatever, that is better for everyone else too. I work really well with routines, rituals and stuff. So for me, this has become a ritualistic part of my year and I really, really enjoy it and I really look forward to it. I love New Year's. It's like a fresh start. It's a clean page. I'm like, okay, this year is going to be better. So don't chuck them away as well. Just sort of keep them somewhere so you can like, you know, be like, oh, look at me go. And as I said, make it about you. I would recommend that you don't necessarily set goals to do with like school or work or anything that has anything to do with other people. I personally wouldn't recommend something like, oh, you know, my New Year's resolution is to get promoted or something, because that doesn't necessarily just have something to do with you. There are other people involved and you don't want something, a resolution to have anything to do with other people. You want it to be just to do with you. You have to be the only one accountable for the goals you set. No one else should have anything to do with it. I always try and set my resolution, my goals towards just me being a better version of me than I was the year before. That's what I try and do. I try and be the best version of me, and in Tati's words, and then I raise the bar. So I always try and just be better than I am, and I really enjoy that. It's nice to just keep motivated and then like have a moment now at this part of the year to sort of chill and reflect and be like, okay, what's the game plan? And what I mean in terms of accountability is like, if you didn't get a promotion or raise, whatever, that's not necessarily just something to do for you, but if you didn't get your butt out of bed to go on a run, that was all you, and you cannot blame anyone else because that's on you. You've got to make sure these things are on you. And along the same vein of accountability, numbers. I really, 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 really love, and I'm so motivated every single time it is like a really, really specific goal to like learn to cook something, or if it's something like numbers. We are in a golden age of data stealing, but also just data having. If your goal is to have a better sleep routine, there is an app for that. If your goal is to run a certain amount, you know, there are apps for that. Very different goals you should set for yourself, and then there are things that you can like keep on top with numbers and just tracking and progress. I know that for some people, numbers are like super triggering, and then maybe you can find a different way of like figuring out how to make your goals work for you, but for me personally, I love them. I love the data. I'll give you a sneak peek at one of the ones I have for this year and for the 2020s is running more. So I've been running how many times? I went on a run this morning. I was very proud of myself. I don't enjoy the physical act of running, but I do enjoy the ego boost that comes with it and the like smugness of like, huh, I went on a run today. What did you do? I am that one girl, I apologize. But I've really enjoyed being able to like track like, oh, what was my pace per kilometer? How fast did I run that? Oh, how far did I go? It's really useful to just be like, okay, I'm going to be better than I was next time. And then like, just keep going, just keep going. And so that works really well for me. There's a way of tracking everything, like how many hours you slept, how many kilometers you ran, how many pages you read, how many words you wrote, like how many, like just there's one for everything. Use it. Use the technology to help hold yourself accountable. And I guess the last thing I can recommend in terms of the kind of goals you set, focus on things where you change your habits and you change your mindset. Be happy isn't like a very good goal, because how are you actually going to fulfill that? If you tell yourself that every week you will do 3 activities by yourself that make you happy, that you specifically do because you know how much you like them, there you go. You have a goal, you have something to work towards. Don't generalize, just like think about it. And eventually a lot of these things do become habits. That's one of the ways I actually get to my goals, is the fact that, you know, by repetition it becomes a habit. It takes about 60 days to form a habit, and then you just continue doing it. So some of the New Year's resolutions, like I set sometimes, have just become ingrained in me and just become who I am. One of them a while ago was to stop biting my nails. The way that I stopped biting my nails was actually by getting better at doing my nails. Do you want to chew on your nails when you've just spent ages doing them and they look really freaking cute? No, you don't. You don't want to destroy your own work. So that is one example of how I achieved that. Of course you can change your mind. Things that were important to you at the beginning of the year might not be by the end of the year, but I just think New Year's is always a good time to think about it as well, because culturally it is the time that we all collectively focus on these kind of things, and it's just easier because, you know, someone else is maybe starting something and you can do it together or whatever. You can change yourself and like make a resolution any time of the year, but I think it is so much easier to do it on New Year's, because psychologically it is such a nice, refreshing new start, and I really enjoy that. So I'm really looking forward to 2020 and to 2020s. I gotta be a better me. I think we all can do with being better versions of ourselves, though. Maybe I should set to like limit myself to 2 coffees a day because maybe I should do that. So as the light fades, I am here to then bid you farewell. This is my last video of the year. I will see you on the 1st of January 2020. That's exciting. So yeah, get thinking, get motivated, start thinking about what you want to do and who you want to be in 2020. Right, oh my fucking god. Right, that's it. Thank you very, very much for watching. Like, subscribe and all jazz, and I will see you guys very soon. Flip. Lipstick on head. And in the specificity,